Somewhere in the deepest tox-choked depths of the underhive around the shores of the sump sea where biofilth bubbles and no enforcer treads, a strange new blight has taken root. It grows in shadowed ruins and waterlogged tunnels, feeding on carrion and chem runoff. They call it the Brainleaf, though its worshippers prefer the name the Bloom, a name whispered with reverence, fear and awe. To most hivers, the Brainleaf is a horror from Bad Zone legend, a foul parasitic plant thought to have long been purged by ancient culls. It latches onto the central nervous system of the dead or dying, sending rootlets through the cranium and cortex, reviving the host in a shuffling mockery of life. Yet in the absence of fire and vigilance, the strange sentient plant endured, and where it once merely infested, now it has evolved, or been guided. The Bloom is so much more than a cult uprising. It is a garden, cultivated by madmen, tended by heretics, and fertilized by corpses. Its members revere the Brainleaf as a divine intelligence, a biogestalt of plant and mind, growing its awareness through each enslaved host. For them, infection is not a death sentence, but a sacrament. Few know how the Bloom began to spread anew. Some whisper of a sump hunting party that vanished in the depths, returning months later in Kotton Town, blank-eyed and brainless. Others claim an insidious gene cult tried to harness xenofauna to extend life. Whatever the origin, the result is clear. The Bloom is rising, and its cult has teeth. Howdy Hive Scum and welcome back. Earlier this year I spent a lot of time and effort creating and writing my own Necromunda community document for my patrons. If you're a patron and you're watching this, you will already know about this and you already have access to it and you've been playing all of these gangs, dramatis personae and scenarios, I hope. However, I thought it was probably fair for me to release some of this to the general public. If you'd like to download this though, please do become a patron and you can go and check out this PDF and get all the lore around Kotton Town as well as the 3 custom gangs of the dramatis personae and all the scenarios that I've included within. Now, if you're an older player like me from back in 95, you will remember that Outlanders included rules for scavies, and scavies had featured in the lore all the way up until now. However, Games Workshop have not released a gang of equivalent to scavies. We don't have any sort of zombie survival horror, so I thought it would be a good time for me to implement my own version of an updated kind of scavvy list to a certain degree. These guys are based around the Brainleaf, which is a xenofauna, or otherwise a strange alien plant that, if you listen to the lore at the beginning there, is pretty weird and creepy and nasty. So I thought I'd create a gang around this concept, and I'm pretty happy with the results. These guys play quite differently to everything else, and I'd really love to know your feedback on this, what you might change about it, but so far I'm really happy with where this has gone. So what I'm going to do today is give you the outline of the gang, how they are organized, how they're structured, how they play in campaigns, and the individual fighter types, costings, and weapons they have access to as well. So in terms of gang composition, the Bloom Cult gang is as follows. The Bloom Cult gang must follow these rules when it's founded and when new fighters are added to the gang. First and foremost, there must be one leader, the Bloom Speaker, who's chosen when the gang is first founded. You cannot have no leader in any Necromunda gang, and in this case, it is the Bloom Speaker. The total number of gardeners, aka gangers, must always equal to or higher than the total number of other fighters in the gang, not counting hangers-on. In addition to this though, a gang founded for a campaign must contain no more than 2 Spore golems. These are the super champions of the Bloom Cult gang, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. Spore golems. Additional Spore golems may be added to the gang during the course of a campaign, but you can only start with a maximum of 2. In terms of how they operate in Dominion campaigns, they are the same as any other gang, and they count as a corridor gang for the sake of territory boons. Now, Bloom Cult can use the trading post, but because these guys are definitely bad guys, every single rarity and illegality rating is increased by 2. Also, in the post-battle, if you are making a medical escort, you can do it. You must roll twice and keep the higher cost result as well, because nobody wants to go near these guys. And lastly, just to reiterate, these guys are definitely bad guys, and they are always outlaws and can never be a lawful gang. Also, in terms of alliances, those are not applicable for these guys. No house favors, no alliances, nothing like that at all. These guys do not get help. Now for the individual fighter types. The first fighter is the leader and known as the Bloom Speaker. This guy is 115 credits, so he's quite expensive, and the stats are as follows. He's got a movement 5, so average there, weapon skill 3+, and ballistic skill 4+, with a strength of 3 and a toughness of 4. So better in close combat, and with a higher toughness there as well. He's also got 3 wounds, which is similar to a lot of the more recent leaders that have been designed by Games Workshop. His initiative is 3+, and his attacks are 2. His mental stats, though, are very, very high, with a leadership of 4+, a cool of 4+, a willpower of 4+, and a leadership of 7+. The special rules around the Bloom Speaker are as follows. He does count as a leader for the gang hierarchy. However, he does have slightly different special rules in how he activates in group activations. Instead of group activations as normal, what we have here is a special rule called Bloom Speech. The Bloom Speaker may group activate each turn with D3 vessels. These vessels can be anywhere on the board and operate as one with the Bloom Speaker. So you can have vessels, which we'll talk about a little bit later, operated by the Bloom Speaker in exactly the same way as a group activation, no matter where they are on the board. D3 every turn. The next special rule is True Menace. This guy is immune to the effects of insanity and fear and cannot be hurt by gas or toxin weapon traits. However, the caveat to that, and this is a theme through the gang as there is a hard counter here, he is known as underhive flora, and this special rule extends to most of the gang actually. So if a Bloom Speaker is hit by a weapon with the defoliate trait, it immediately suffers a damage 1 wound that cannot be saved by any means. So if you're in a campaign with these guys, stock up on anti-plant grenades. In terms of weapons and equipment, this guy has access to pistols and close combat weapons only, as well as the war gear from the Bloom cult list. When recruited, the Bloom Speaker will get 1 primary skill for free, and the primary skill sets of choice here are Cunning, Leadership, and Outcast Mutations. The rules for those can be found in the Apocrypha Necromunda article. In terms of secondary, though, we get Ferocity, Combat, and Agility. So in summary, the Bloom Speaker is the most important facet of your gang. He is the orchestrator of everything, and he operates using those vessels. D3 per turn, group activating. You're going to want to protect this guy. He's pretty tough, but otherwise he doesn't get access to a lot of high power weaponry, and you're going to want to protect him generally. But he's a pretty decent fighter. Now for the champion that we mentioned earlier, the Spore Golem. This guy is 140 credits. You can have no more than 2 of them at gang creation. However, you can have more throughout a campaign. They do have some real strengths, but they do have some downsides as well. In terms of the stats, though, they are quite similar to an Ogren. These guys are big bloaters, and they are very, very dangerous and hard to put down. They are movement 4, weapon skill 4+, and ballistic skill 6+. They are strength and toughness 5 and 2 wounds, with initiative 5+ and 2 attacks. In terms of their mental stats, their leadership 9+, cool 5+, willpower 7+, and intelligence 10+. Now these guys also have a whole host of special rules. Unstoppable Behemoth is the first one. A Spore Golem is immune to the effects of insanity and fear, and weapons with the gas and toxin traits have no effect. In addition, though, the Spore Golem can never become pinned and ignores the effects of both flesh wounds and serious injuries. Yes, that's pretty powerful. Think of this guy as a plant-based Lobo slave. The next special rule is Blood Bloat. The swollen and bloated form of a Spore Golem is hazardous to attack, and should a Spore Golem be taken out of action, immediately place a blast 3-inch template centered on the golem. All fighters, friend or foe, caught in the blast suffer a Strength 1, AP -1, Damage 1, Scattershot attack with the Blaze trait. Very nasty indeed. You're going to want to keep these guys at arm's length and hit them with powerful, powerful shooting weapons. Just like the Bloom Speaker, he is also underhive flora, so the defoliate rules here, taking 1 damage automatically with defoliate, is definitely the downside. In terms of weapons and equipment, the Spore Golem gets no access to any weapons and war gear, no armor, no weapons. This guy is just naked and punching stuff with his open fists. In terms of skill access as well, we have primary of Brawn and Outcast Mutations as well, and secondary Muscle, Ferocity, and Combat, and you may get a free primary skill when you are hired as well. So all in all, you can see that this guy is very, very powerful indeed. He cannot be pinned, he ignores flesh wounds and serious injuries, he explodes in a shower of acid when you take him out as well. However, he doesn't get access to any weapons and war gear, and he is vulnerable to the defoliate trait as well. So there are strong positives and negatives about this guy, but I can see a lot of people going, Damon, that's way too powerful. Again, you can only have 2 of these guys, and the rest of the gang is somewhat lackluster in some ways. Now for the prospect. This guy is the creeper. Think of The Last of Us in this one. These are the fast ones that you get in the game. The prospect is 60 credits, and the stats are as follows. They're quite a bit faster. Their movement 6. They are weapon skill 4+, and ballistic skill 6+, strength and toughness 3, 1 wound, initiative 2+, and 2 attacks. And they have mental stats of 9+ leadership, 5+ cool, 7+ willpower, and 9+ on intelligence. Now these are a gang fighter ganger, so you can have as many of these as you can gangers in your gang as well, and a creeper comes with the infiltrate, clamber, and evade skills built in as well. Now, like the rest of the gang so far, these guys are also underhive flora with the special rule, meaning they are definitely vulnerable to the defoliate trait. Just like the other fighters we've talked about so far, underhive flora is the special rule here. They are certainly vulnerable to the defoliate trait. And they also have the rule True Menace, where they are immune to gas, toxin, insanity, and fear as well. Oof. In terms of weapons and war gear, again, these guys can take absolutely nothing. So they do get, however, their creeper claws, which are -1 AP, toxin, melee weapons. In terms of skills, they get primary access to cunning and agility, naturally, as well as secondary of ferocity, outcast mutation, and combat. So all in all, a very fast and stealthy creature which can really get all over the board and cause you problems with those toxin claws. However, their stats aren't really that scary. Being immune to toxin and gas as well as fear and insanity is definitely pretty good. However, again, the defoliate thing comes in there as well. I like the design of these guys. I think these guys need to be in this gang. A slow, strong champion and a quick, stealthy prospect. Then we have the gangers or gardeners. These guys are pretty similar to a hive scum. They're 35 credits though, so they're 5 credits more expensive than a hive scum, and they are gangers for all intents and purposes. Their movement 5, weapon skill and ballistic skill 4+, strength toughness 3, 1 wound, initiative 4+, and 1 attack, just like a hive scum. They have 8+ leadership, and where they differ from a hive scum, they've got slightly better cool and willpower with 7+ on both, and an intelligence worse at a 9+. In terms of special rules on the gardeners here, the gardeners cannot be infected by insanity at all, and no friendly fighter needs to take a cool check if a gardener is taken out of action. So they sort of count as some of the prospects in other gangs as well. For skill access, should they become a specialist, they have cunning and outcast mutation as their primary, and they also have secondary of ferocity and agility there as well. Weapons and war gear. A gardener may purchase weapons and war gear from the Bloom Cult weapons and equipment list. When founded, a gang may take 1 gardener specialist. The specialist may take special weapons and heavy weapons from the Bloom Cult list when recruited. So the ganger in this instance is fairly cheap chaff. I decided to make them a little bit more expensive to compensate for their cool and willpower and the fact that they are immune to insanity as well. They do get access to some interesting bits of kit as well, but nothing too fancy. These are the guys, the mooks that you're going to be sending out in absolute hordes. Lastly, we have the Brainleaf Vessels, otherwise known as Brainleaf Zombies. Now, these guys are very different to anything else you have in the game, and these are kind of replacing the original scabby zombies, the plague zombies that we used to have. However, I've changed the rules for them quite a bit and leaned into the Brainleaf thing quite a bit here. They're 15 credits and you get D3 per game. So you've got to pay 15 credits per game to get these guys turning up, and you only get D3 of them in your game. However, you can pay multiple times and get lots and lots of them if you really want to, and if you've got the money to do so, probably would. Now, stats-wise, these guys are a little bit different. They have a movement value of 2d6, so they're very erratic. Sometimes they move 2 inches, sometimes they move 12 inches. It really is based on the dice roll, but they have an average movement of around 6 or 7, which is pretty damn good. Their weapon skill is only 5+, their ballistic skill is 6+, their strength and toughness 3, their wounds 1, initiative 6+, and attacks 1. In terms of the mental stats, a leadership of 12+, which is terrible, a cool of 4+, which is amazing, willpower 9+, and intelligence 12+ as well. Now, of course, these guys are also hot-headed, so nobody cares if they get taken out of action or seriously injured. They're also implacable, so vessels can never become pinned and ignore the effects of both flesh wounds and serious injuries, just like the big bloater. So you're fishing for skulls to really take these guys out of action, but they are a screen. They're also lured, so a vessel never joins the gang permanently and are hired each game. The creds represent the bait used to goad them to battle. This is similar to how the old plague zombies used to operate. Infected may not gain or spend any XP, and if taken out of action, an out cold is always rolled on the injury table. They are also underhive flora, so the only fighter in your gang who doesn't have the underhive flora special rule is the gardener, so the ganger. Everyone else is certainly vulnerable to the defoliate trait. These guys are also immune to fear, insanity, toxin, and gas as well, and they get no access to any weapons or equipment. They just come as is. So there you go. That is the sort of bones of the gang. We have a leader who is, the orchestrator of all things. We have a cheap screen of the vessels and the gardeners of, just chaff basically, as well as fast and creepy creepers, as well as the spore golems as well, who are the big heavy hitters. But as you can see, this gang has a strong theme that I've leaned into as plant-based, which is a trigger word these days in 2025. They're a plant-based gang. So for those vegans out there, this is the gang for you. Now for the Bloom Cult weapons and equipment list. For basic weapons, the first thing I included here was a blunderbuss. Now this was used by scabbies back in the day. What I've done here is costed it as 30 credits, and it is not the polearm blunderbuss that Cawdor get access to. It is just the basic plentiful round, not the blaze one, that the Cawdor get access to. So it's a template weapon, it's still pretty good, it's got scatter shot and stuff, and it's 30 credits, and that is the blunderbuss. We then get access to sawn-off shotguns for 15, shotguns for 30, reclaimed auto guns, and bows are the only basic weapons that we get in this. In terms of pistols, we get the scavenged stub gun, the reclaimed auto pistol, the hand crossbow, and the hand flamer for 75 creds as well. For special weapons, we get access to a flamer, a long rifle, and the chem thrower as well, which is normally exclusive to Escher. I thought it was quite fitting to include it in the Brainleaf gang though. Heavy weapons, we only have two options here as well. We have the harpoon launcher for 100 creds and the heavy flamer as well for 195 creds. Very expensive weapon. For close combat weapons, we have mauls, axes, flails, cleavers, polearms, chain glaives, fighting knives, whips, two-handed axes, two-handed hammers, and heavy clubs for 15 credits there as well. In terms of grenades, we have gunk bombs for 40 credits, choke grenades, and scare gas grenades as well. No smoke, no frag, no crack, no scare, nothing like that, just those three. And in terms of equipment, I've included the respirator, scrap shield, flak armor, gutter forge cloak, hazard suit, filter plugs, industrial respirator, and, wait for it, thread needle worms for 50 credits. So these guys have access to the dreaded thread needle worms for 50 credits on their own house list. So there you have it. The house list is fairly stripped back. There's not a huge amount of stuff in there, and there's not a lot of choice, and where you can put weapons is really only on your gangers and your leader. The champion, the prospect, and the sort of, the zombies can't take any weapons or equipment or war gear at all. So really, the only shooting weapons that you're going to have are on your gangers and your leader with pistols and close combat weapons. So that is my Bloom Cult gang. I'm really happy with it. I'd love to know what you think though. Again, I put this PDF out on Patreon, so go and download it if you want to get everything there for you and you can start playing these gangs. Shout out to Munda Manager actually, which I've been using lately to design and create and edit all my gangs and customize everything in. You'll see them on screen here as well as I do fighter cards and gang lists in there. Definitely go and check out Munda Manager. Unfortunately, Yak Tribe seems to have been left in the dirt. Nobody's updating it, so Munda Manager is a brilliant, brilliant replacement for Yak Tribe. So please do go and check those guys out. If you're not already, you can run your campaigns and your gangs in there. You can also customize and create your own Dramatis Personae and do stuff like this. But I'm really happy with the lore and the design of this gang. I think really in my head I designed this gang to be a little bit of an NPC arbitrated gang, really, the angle that I've gone from. So, there's not a lot of sort of growth in this gang in terms of campaigns, but they are really fun to play, and I seriously urge you to start kit bashing and converting your own models. As you've seen here, I've done my own Bloom Cult gang a while ago and just passed them off as mutants and outcasts. However, I was designing them all the time to be my Bloom Cult. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with another one really soon. The Bad Zone Huntsman. Peace out.